So I love finding new clothing items. Something as simple as finding a new coat can be the starting point for a brand new outfit. But as a student, I have a pretty limited budget. Seeing all my peers post thrift hauls online kind of got me interested in the idea of thrifting. Take these for example. This is brand new, and it wasn't cheap. On the other hand, this one was thrifted. It may be cheaper than anything else I own. In 2022, inflation pushed the price of goods up 9%. Take this jacket for an example. Last year, it cost $100. Next year, it might cost $109. May not really seem like a big deal, but over time, these small changes make a very big impact. In fact, just last year, Statistics Canada released a report that says that nearly half of all Canadians have had to look for deals just to be able to afford the products that they need. So thrifting really appears to be like an ideal solution to help with these costs. Just look on social media, or especially on TikTok, it's really hard to avoid the videos of people showing off the stuff that they're finding at thrift stores. This got me really curious, and I wanted to answer a question I've been asking myself for years. Is going to thrift stores taking away something from someone who may need it a little more than I do? I decided I'd talk to the author of this book, From Goodwill to Grunge, A History of Secondhand Styles and Alternative Economies. Her name is Jennifer Lizotte, and she's a historian with expertise in the rise of thrift culture. So I want to start out right from the beginning. Can you give me a bit of a quick overview into what thrifting and the sale of secondhand clothing was originally thought out to be? I mean, who is it actually really meant for?
So before there was Goodwill and Salvation Army, there were pushcart salesmen, right, who would go along the streets of major cities collecting cast-off items and reselling them. Well, once Salvation Army started moving from Europe to the United States, they started to establish their own routes of sort of culling discarded goods from city patrons and reselling them. And round about the turn of the century, both Salvation Army and Goodwill started establishing standalone stores that would, by the 1920s, be called thrift stores.
After speaking with Jennifer, I went to visit ShopSmart, a small thrift store doing everything they can to keep their prices low.
So I decided, like growing up, I didn't have much money going to different stores. It was really expensive for me, and I used to always love to go to thrift stores because I love to shop and what I can afford, and people that are low income can't afford it. So that's why I came up with this idea of a thrift store that is $10 and under. Well, I find like $10 is a very good price to people's budget these days too. And you know, we have rent, we have food costs of the bills going up, and people just don't want to pay, again, $95 for a pair of pants or a nice top that you could go to a thrift store. And people donate. They only wear it once and then it's back of the closet, and you know, you could give it to someone that really needs it. I honestly see whole different kinds of age groups. I see a lot of young people because a lot of young people do like to thrift shop. I guess they take after their parents too, because sometimes their parents come in and they love to thrift shop. So I guess depends on the individual too, and a lot of young people too. They like to shop.
So from the sounds of it, it really seems like Patricia's store caters to everyone. But I wanted to hear more from Jennifer about whether my idea that TikTok is driving the trend in thrifting, is that really true? So what sort of sticks out to you in today's day and age that might be this driving force behind the current popularity of secondhand and vintage clothing?
Well, I do think that younger demographics are the driving forces in expanding the popularity of rebranded, remade secondhand clothing, right? Whether it's sort of the Depop turned Etsy kind of style where you're taking something that's secondhand and adding some value, like zhuzhing it up a little bit and reselling it for much higher prices.
So that got me thinking, with whatever's driving the trend in thrifting, is there really enough to go around? That brings us back to Patricia.
Well, as long as people keep coming in and donating their stuff, and we're gonna try our best to keep our prices low as $10 and under. Maybe one day we might expand for bigger, so we can help more people out with the stuff we have, because we're getting a lot of donations and we're running out of spots to put it. I always say to people, well, we're gonna put it on the ceiling one day as a joke, because we always joke around, we have a good sense of humor, but maybe possibly one day we expand it.
So with all the donations that Patricia gets, there's really no shortage of clothing for lower income thrifters. But it's still kind of hard to shake that feeling that you're inconveniencing someone or taking something from someone who may need it a little bit more than you do. But after speaking with Jennifer, she's really not so convinced about that argument.
What I am skeptical of is an argument that that Gen Z's desire to buy secondhand clothing is destroying the market of cheaper clothing for those who really need it. I don't really think that Gen Z is taking from that same pocket of clothing, frankly, because there's enough secondhand clothing to go around.
So maybe my concerns weren't really as big of a deal as I had actually originally thought. Turns out there's just way more clothes than we really know what to do with. In fact, a study released just earlier this year from the University of Waterloo shows that Canadians are dumping about 500 million kilograms of textiles into the landfills each and every year. So the next time you're browsing the shelves at a thrift store, don't feel too bad about picking up something new for yourself. There's going to be plenty for the next person who comes around.